I'm talking to Mareli Mans, Head of Product and Pricing for Group Insurance and Funds at Work at Momentum Corporate, about what's really driving group life insurance pricing today. It's no longer just about the numbers, it's about people, health trends, and sustainability. Marley, thank you for your time. It's absolutely great to catch up.
Thank you so much, Rianet. It's lovely to be here today.
So, group life insurance pricing is influenced by multiple competing forces. What are the main factors shaping pricing today, and why can't we rely on one simple trend line anymore?
So, Rianet, I think we're in such an interesting space at the moment in terms of economic environment, work trends, as well as health trends, and all of them culminate in what's happening in your group pricing. So, a couple of years ago, the first thing everybody wanted to talk about is what is happening in COVID. We had a massive COVID trend coming through, and now we're kind of phasing out of that. We're seeing different mortality and morbidity trends coming to the forefront because we're out of COVID, and because of what COVID did to people's access to health care, to screenings. Then we also have the economic environment playing a massive role in the psychological environment, a lot of psych cases coming through, stressful environments, and return to work playing a role. I think a lot of us, it's very positive we could work at home. It had its own dark side, people getting isolated, and now we're seeing the reverse of that, people going back to the office. That also having a big impact on our members. Then the technology side, I think lots of positives, able to track health trends better, data analytics, but also members now having better insights to what's happening in their specific health. And I don't know about you, but my watch shouts at me every day to get up and get moving, or whether I'm sleeping well enough. And is that really going to have a massive impact on what we're seeing in morbidity and health trends? So really an interesting space to be in at the moment.
Yeah, 100% agree. I'm still interested to hear more about the fact that the fact that we didn't have access to the healthcare in the COVID time still has an impact. It feels like it's such a long time afterwards, but I hear that quite often. The impact remains long term. It does remain. And we've seen that economic pressures are affecting both employers and employees. It is a reality. How are sluggish growth, unemployment, and rising living costs influencing group assurance, affordability, and uptake?
So what we're seeing basically in terms of affordability, what we feel as members and as clients is mirrored by the companies, right? So all the companies are on a lot of pressure to attract the best staff, right? You need to be able to compete. It's a very competitive environment. You have to have the best employee value proposition, or sometimes referred to as employee experience, and group insurance plays a fundamental part in that. So it's making sure that your employee value proposition attracts the best staff, but all of that comes at a cost, right? And that is the balancing act that we help solve. Is how do you make sure that your value proposition stacks up with your competitors, but how does we make sure that we manage your budget so that you can actually afford it? And in a lot of cases, employees are actually funding it themselves, and they might have different views on how they would want, what benefits they want, how much they want to contribute, and how much they want to spend on retirement. So I think that's where I think a holistic view of your employee value proposition makes a big difference. And looking at the specifics of your group, for the young group, if you're kind of aging workforce, what is their needs, and how can you structure something that speaks to that?
Yeah, very interesting times. Just out of interest, very small companies tend to shy away from the group benefits, or not really?
We've actually been very successful in attracting the smaller companies, so the small, medium companies on the FundsAtWork side. So we offer a bundled solution, and there the membership requirement, I think, is less than we can cater for groups as long as they're more than 15. So quite small, actually, barrier to entry. And the nice, for example, in that solution that we've got, we have investments and risk together. And if you have the bundle solution, you qualify for a family protector benefit, which is really a market-leading solution that includes 20,000 Rand funeral cover at 9.75 for your family. So if you think about what retail funeral costs, and
Yes.
even for a small company, if you can give that to your members, it makes a significant difference. So yeah, even small companies are really looking at this. And I think having something that is flexible for their members, because not everybody wants the big cover, not everybody needs it. But if you can do an entry-level version where they have the ability to flex up and do the flexing and engagement digitally, that also makes it a lot more accessible. Because if everything is manual, obviously the cost goes up. So the more digital services we can offer, we can reach them effectively.
That is great. Your research points to a significant rise in non-communicable diseases like diabetes, cancer, and cardiovascular conditions. How is this shift impacting the claims experience and sustainability when it comes to the pricing part?
Yes, obviously these non-communicable diseases really is worrying. It speaks to people being less active. I'm seeing quite a big rise in these kind of diseases. We see a lot of musculoskeletal issues, which is often linked to high BMI. But there's also positives, right? We're seeing, everybody must have been heard by now about the GLP-1 drugs or Ozempic. There's lots of negatives in the media, right? Off-script use, Ozempic face, because you lose body mass everywhere and maybe gain a couple of wrinkles. But if it's used on script, it can have quite a positive impact on diabetics and weight loss. And so we do believe that those positive drugs, if we can get the use out there, can make a significant difference. And then also tracking, right? So what we really advocate is making sure that your wellness and EAP provider can help early if there is any kind of issues in terms of musculoskeletal issues. Sometimes just sitting at the right chair, getting someone active, making sure that they set up properly makes a big difference. We've seen, even during COVID, people, just the fact that they were at home, now they're lying on their couch, not actually sitting at a desk, those things also led to claims. So I think it's really making sure that you partner with your wellness provider to change that, and giving people access to healthcare makes a big difference. And but we are concerned about the lack of activity. People sitting at desks for really long hours, and now return to work, people are going to be sitting in traffic for much longer again, right? And how do we manage that?
Preventative care seems to be declining while chronic conditions are rising. How does this change in health behavior affect productivity and then obviously the long-term pricing trends?
I think it links to what we were referring to earlier. During COVID, people did not go for their screenings. And if you looked at the numbers, you would have, if you didn't have that background, you say, hey, COVID just cured cancer, because we saw the cancers dipped so much and we all knew it didn't, right? So I think we were all worried about it at the time. I think the first time it wasn't just actually looking at the graphs, everybody was seeing these numbers and knowing what was coming. So that speaks to what we're seeing now. People now going for these screenings and then picking up diseases, unfortunately, at a lot more severe level, which has left, I think, specifically critical illness products under a lot of pressure. I know in the retail space, they are really battling to get the claims ratios down in the early duration. So people basically taking out life cover and then immediately claiming for critical illnesses because they knew something, or they suspected something was up. On the group side, I think critical illness is not as popular. It's not a product that's widely offered. And the other thing on the group insurance side, because we've got compulsory cover, that anti-selective impact isn't there to the same extent. So the group insurance has been much smoother in terms of critical illness and in general, because cover is compulsory. That means we get the healthy lives and the unhealthy lives. And that helps a lot with the overall stability and sustainability of the rates. But obviously, we also see the general trend. So there's a general trend of a catch-up of claims. And I think that's what we're talking about in terms of short-term fluctuations. If there's a catch-up because there was a lull, you'll see it coming through. And I think understanding what's the long-term level we're going through, I think that's where the science really comes in, and needing a broad exposure to industries to understand that really well.
Yeah. You referred to technology earlier, and technology is clearly transforming how insurers assess and manage risk. I think we are in a very interesting phase with all these technological developments and the innovation happening. Um, how are digital health tools and data analytics improving the pricing accuracy and outcome for members? And I think that is a growing thing that is changing very fast, but it's interesting.
Yeah, so as an insurer, we're spending so much time and effort on our data and analytics area, and we've really seen how our members and our clients benefit, right? It's one thing
Yeah.
to see a cost come through, but to have an annual conversation or every 6 years tell you how is your group changing, what are we seeing in pending claims, what are we seeing in admittance rates, gives you a lot of clarity in terms of what's happening in your specific workforce, and then our disability management team can help your wellness team actually change that, right? Because it's one thing to see the claims pop up, but then it's too late. Then it's a claim.
Yeah.
So we want to go to the preventative state where we can tell you, we're seeing this coming through. What are we doing in terms of changing your workforce, changing how they sit? How can we accommodate people to help you with the trend? And we're also seeing our members being a lot more comfortable with digital online health assessments, being a lot more aware of their own health and how they can change that. And then obviously you have some of our service providers like Hello Doctor, where people can now access a doctor digitally. And that really doesn't just make a difference to the member, because now obviously I can quickly phone a doctor. In Cape Town, you should never get sick on a Friday night because there's no doctors available. But then you can still phone Hello Doctor and there's someone to help you with a sick child, because they only get sick at 6 o'clock on a Friday night. But also that helps the employer, right? Because now you don't have someone that has to go stand in a queue or go and go to a clinic maybe. That might have been the only other option. So really digital healthcare, making it more accessible to all members, at even the most inappropriate times.
Yeah. I remember so well in the very early days with the start of this technology and the tracking, where we say now Big Brother is watching, and people were very hesitant to really partake and do an uptake on all this technology. But it has most certainly changed, I think, for the best.
I think when people see the value, where it's adding value to their life, it's a big difference. So we have recently also the integrated solution for one of our bigger clients, where we've got the health and the disability and the life insurance all speaking to each other, right? So that if you run out of benefits on the one side, it's not another claim that you have to log. They speak to each other. And that just makes the experience for the member much better, and also the outcomes, right? And there's no gap in treatment, and you can really make a difference.
That makes so much sense. Wow, that is great. Generational diversity is another important theme in some of the research you guys have done. How can flexible modular benefit design help insurers cater to the different needs and values of each generation? Because now we sit with a wide variety of generations, right?
Yes, it is quite an interesting space that we're in, right? Where you have people very close to retirement that might not want or need high cover. You've got new joiners that's got a very different attitude to work life, right? They don't expect to be at one company forever, and they probably want the most out to live your best life, YOLO. So I think managing that, I think the configurable benefits help a lot. So benefits where you can flex up digitally, so members can basically change their benefit balance, if I can call it that. So if you need more life cover, flex up on the life cover, and then later flex down if you don't need it anymore. Or if you feel you'd rather have more of your money going towards retirement, then it also gives you that flexibility. And then also have benefits that's portable. So we offer conversion options, which means if I'm going to be at the company for a short amount of time, that's not a problem. I can convert my policy to a retail policy if I leave, and I don't need to go for underwriting. So that really gives you the benefit of group insurance pricing, because you're benefiting from the group, but when you leave, you don't have to worry about what's my health state now, because I can take the cover with me.
Wow, that is incredible. And that is really taking that personalization within the group, in a bigger group, to a next level. That's really great to hear what the innovations are. Wow. Finally, when you talk about pricing, beyond the numbers, what does that mean for employers looking to create real value through group insurance benefits for their employees?
I think for me, the important thing is picking a partner that you can walk a long journey with, right? I've mentioned some nuances, and if you weren't here 20 years or 5 years ago, even if you didn't have a book that sizable, you would not know that this is fluctuation.
Yeah.
I think picking a partner that can benchmark you against the industry, because it's one thing to know what your claims look like, but that's just a little window, right? Knowing where you fit into the greater world and what we're seeing in the general trends can make sure that we offer you something that's sustainable. As I mentioned, I'm the head of pricing, so the worst conversation for me ever is to go to a client to say, sorry, I got this wrong, and now there's an increase. That is really like my worst day. So for us, it's all about making sure that what we offer you is sustainable. And the next year and the year thereafter, it's an easy conversation to say, maybe we could enhance something, maybe we could tweak something. But the pricing needs to be as stable and almost set that I don't have to have that conversation with the client. And the client knows they're getting value for money and they can see that the members is benefiting.
No, that's amazing. So I think my very last question, Mareli, we speak to the advisors, the intermediaries, the guys who takes your product to the client. Any last message to them?
I think it's important to partner with a good reputable insurer. I think obviously they look at the entire market, understanding the trends and how we got to an answer is important, and be wary of, I think, short-term fluctuations. I think if you see something like that looks different, then ask the question, why is it so different from what we're seeing anywhere else? Because I think there's often a good reason why the market has a view of something. So if something looks like, if it looks too good to be true, do ask the question.
It normally is.
It normally is. And please come speak to us. That's the other thing. We have clients, we've got different solutions that we've built for different clients, and it's not for everybody. So you might not know about your client's specific needs, but if you can understand what is the employer truly trying to achieve, you can work. We're always there for that journey. If we can't start there now, maybe we can get there over time.
I love it. I really love the flexibility. I love the personalization. I love the fact that you cater for really a big variety of clients, and the fact that the innovation happens promptly and as it happens. So it's really exciting to see what the developments are in the group life space. Thank you for your time, Mareli. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rianet. Thank you for having me.